I can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Test one, two, test one, two.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Man, I tell you what, it's always something. I'm drinking now.
Hey, Bo Harris here with Cabell Road. This is my podcast. Welcome to my place where you be real comfortable in your own environment. Anything is open for discussion. Along it ain't politics or religion because we don't talk about them things. This is
Yeah,
where you step in your comfort zone, talk
absolutely.
about talk about you know where you came from, how you got your start, and everything like that. Who you are as a person. Because we already know the two of us, the men of mystery, been on the roll on TikTok.
Yeah.
So, but t- tell everybody who you are, in case they don't know.
So, hi, for everybody out there in the online realm, so to speak. My name is Cabell Rhode. That was my latest artist name. I actually had a bunch of different ones throughout the years that I was with for a while, and then I would kind of get to the end of the idea, and then I was like, I got to get something new. And you were actually, interestingly enough, with me there when I ran into the issue with another artist, which I'm not going to name, but
And you
another
were
artist.
sweating bullets.
Well, yeah, because I'd already released a couple songs. We went to the studio, recorded some stuff, and it had been
Right,
released.
right,
And then all of a sudden, this guy came out with this legacy copyright, and I consulted a lot of different people in the industry, and they were like, "You're going to have to burn that name. You can't do anything with it, even
right,
though."
right.
But they said they're going to go based on the legacy copyright, and because he
Yeah,
was copywritten before, so that's when I came up with Cabell Road. But I've been doing music now. I think I was talking to you the other day. I think it was 97, 98. It's been a long,
right,
long road for me. And I have a family member who was a guitarist at the time, and he was the one that got me into it because he
right,
was like doing all these stuffs with harmonics and stuff, and he was like boom, 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 and I was just blown away. And I'm not going to mention his name because he likes to remain anonymous, but he got me into music, and that started me on an inspirational journey to really grow, learn guitar. But I've been doing it a while and couldn't be happy.
right,
It's what I
right.
love to do.
So, when
Hmm.
when it came guitar playing, now, did you seek to any musical inspirations with that?
Yeah, yeah,
Besides
yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
you said it was your uncle,
Uh, Family member.
or family members.
Yeah. I don't
Well,
really want to name them because they like to be private, but they like to heckle
right.
me that I don't mention them enough. I was talking to them the other day, and
Yeah.
they were like, "In the interview, you didn't mention me," so I figured I'd go ahead
Well,
on and do
if I'm well, don't go ahead and mention me. You do what you do, man. Just
But
keep it that
he
way.
just like gave me a hard time.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I love that it was this different style of alternative. Like it didn't make sense in like a pop song. It was just different. It was artsy.
Right.
And I loved that direction because I wanted to be all about doing art, real art. It wasn't necessarily. Now, I got into the pop stuff through you and kind of took a
Right.
different direction later on. But when I first started, I was very, very uh, underground, so to speak. And, I just was doing art. I didn't really have an end goal. I knew one day I wanted to get an opportunity, but I wasn't actively pursuing it. But to circle back to your question, yeah, there was a lot of different people. All of them are probably indie artists, but Nick Drake was one that was a
Right.
singer-songwriter. And then on the alternative scene, like a lot of the guys out of Drag City Records, Bill Callahan was a big one. Bonnie Prince Billy, who's out of Louisville, and
Okay.
he's pretty well renowned. He worked with Johnny Cash on the I think it was three, American Three, and Johnny
Okay.
did a cover of "I See Your Darkness," which was one of his songs. And I think he actually did the vocals on that as well, and he was part of that. But yeah, I mean, just a lot of Indian alternative guys in the scene, people that were doing different things. I've got like probably, I don't know, 5,000 CDs, if not more. And a lot of them are just different stuff that I listen to: jazz, classical, blues, underground, everything. You know,
Right. Right.
now some of the stuff I don't get into. I never was a big fan of techno or anything like that, so I
Oh,
definitely didn't.
I mean, I think techno really transformed into what they call EDM
Yeah,
nowadays. Like, because you never hear about
yeah,
EDM, EDM, EDM.
yeah. A lot of that is kind of like what they call the rave music now, or it's stuff
Yeah,
that they
yeah.
play at the clubs and the parties and stuff like that.
Which I can't get into because
I,
it just totally something different.
yeah,
And I mean, but if people enjoy it, and
yeah.
let them enjoy it.
Well, that's the thing. I think you have to be open to other people. I think one concept that the world has in general, just a grand scheme concept, is that everybody has to view the world the same way as you.
Oh
And
yeah,
everybody has to listen to the same thing you listen to, or, there's multiple ways to view music and to listen to it, and everybody has their own personal taste. And I actually love talking to people that have different musical tastes
right,
because I like picking apart, well, what do you like about this particular style of music or this genre?
right.
What turns you on, so to speak, in that
Oh,
kind of sense,
I
but in a
I
musical
know what you
sense.
mean.
Yeah, you know
Because
what I'm saying.
people like to put you in a box as like me. Well, I didn't know you would like listen to soul music. I'm like,
Hmm.
what do you mean by that? I'm supposed to, because I live in Kentucky, I'm supposed to listen to country. I like listening to everything, really.
Right.
Long, there's concept in the music
Hmm.
and everything. Now,
Well, and we're going to get into that. I got a couple of topics here I want to circle back to, but yeah, definitely. I see what you're saying. A
right,
lot of people want to narrow you down, and if I can keep you in this box,
right,
then I'm not as threatened by you because I just see
yeah,
this little sliver of who you are. And the truth is, there's a symphony of you, but
right,
I'm just going to look at you in that view and say, well, you should only do this, or people are different. People are very complex.
right,
It's not always white and black. There's a lot of gray in life.
right.
People have a lot of different types of views on art and music and what they're into. And hey, each their own. That's the way I say it. Everybody has their own thing.
Yeah, everybody got their own thing. Me, I got my own thing.
Oh yeah, well I definitely know Bo Daddy got his own thing. Everybody's on
So,
bow time, as I call
oh
it.
yeah, well, we like roll slow over here. No rush.
Hey, I don't have any
No,
problem with it. Relax and enjoy yourself and do
yeah,
do things the way you want to do them. So
yeah. But I mean, it what it is. But so talking
mhm.
about your guitar, did you do lessons? You do schooling, and what'd you do to make
I
yourself
did all
better?
kinds of lessons. My first lesson was in a little music shop in West Virginia, and they kind of taught me some basic stuff. And then I started going to these different colleges. Um, at first I was just taking college lessons as it's like what do they call that? An elective. So I wasn't really
Right,
like a part of the college that I was taking lessons at, but I could go in through their enrollment and I could take like a semester credit, and it was so much, and I would, take lessons with this instructor who actually played in the World Trade Center, and they had a secret lounge in there or whatever before it was unfortunately
Yeah.
what happened happened.
Yeah.
But and then I work with when I was in 4 year, I worked with another guitar instructor, and so I had years and years and years of lessons on guitar, and I still play it here and there, but I've kind of expanded out to do different things, like with the commercial
Yeah.
stuff that we worked on with Deep Truth. That kind of gave me a whole different palette to work with
Oh,
because,
I remember just going through that first duet experience.
yeah,
Not talking about Views of Mexico.
oh,
That was like light work, whatever. But
mm,
just doing collaborate on duet commercial
mm-hmm,
stuff, it was a
mm-hmm.
whole different. And during the pandemic,
Yeah.
so just trying to, all right, that's what we're gonna do, whatever.
Well, the thing that I like about the commercial stuff as opposed to the singer-songwriter stuff is I feel like it's a bit more of a challenge because I had to fit it into
Right.
the parameters of the music because the producer that produced it, they sell them and so we acquire them and then they've already kind of created it with this idea. And so now I have to take this idea and I have to mold Cabell Road into it. You know what I'm saying? And so it
Right.
is a bit more of a challenge for me at times because, and you've had this same thing where we talk about where do we come in at and that type of thing. And a lot of times with this commercial production, it's not always apparent, where you should come in. And so there's a little bit of a challenge of making sure you fit something in there that is both unique to yourself as an artist, but I think also respects the boundaries of the original, producer's ideas, in a way that becomes a marriage almost, if you will. Somebody
Right.
else's idea and then your idea, the lyrics. And so a lot of people in the industry do the same exact thing. I mean, when we talk about whatever genre you will, country, pop,
Mm-hmm.
the rap, the commercial, whatever you say, the folk, indie songwriter, the piano. A lot of these artists do the exact same thing we do. They acquire
Right.
the production and then they put their own spin on it.
Right. And that kind of, made you a better artist.
I would say it definitely made me a better writer because
Better, right?
and I think an artist too because it made me um, transition what I was relying on before. I was relying on creating the sound like Views in Mexico. I'd have to create the guitar and that type of thing, and I'd have to create the timbre. But I don't have to do that as much with the commercial stuff. But I think it challenges you to grow as a writer and as a creative
Right.
in a
Yeah.
way that was beneficial,
Because you're
certainly to
writing
me.
to somebody
Yeah.
else's musical composition.
Yeah, yeah. Even though I mean, you obviously acquired it,
Yeah.
you own the rights to the derivative, whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that aspect of taking someone else's idea of a very big sounding thing, and that's what I've always loved about the
Yeah.
commercial, because I always loved the big sound. And you were,
Yeah.
interestingly enough, told at one point by someone that there was too much sound in your production.
It was overproduced. We don't like overproduce
Right,
like
right.
musical works. What I like. Look, I like what I like.
Hmm.
This is what people gonna like as well. Y'all
Yeah,
want
absolutely.
two instruments and the damn vocals overpowering or a certain kind of way and so no, that's not what we do over here.
Hmm.
Don't tell me how to, do music, whatever.
Well, there's a lot of that though. There is a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of like, well, this is our prescribed or preferred method. This is how a country song is formatted. You can't
Right.
have this instrument in a country song. You can't have that. And I think when you start to narrow it down, then becomes creative is really subjective towards somebody's opinion, or and I don't
Right.
feel like that's beneficial. As artists, we're supposed to chase what inspires us.
Right.
And this is why I tell you, this is why I have so many CDs, is I'm constantly, I'll pick something up, I'll listen to it. It may be a Charles Mingus jazz CD. It may be Beethoven next. It may be rock. It may be blues. It may be country.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm constantly looking, okay, what do I like about how they're doing something? What can I take from
Right.
that and apply it to my own work? And I think that's one thing that I do that maybe some other artists don't do is I think beyond my genre. And I
Right.
think a lot of people, and we've talked about this in terms of the modern country that we're hearing, a lot of people want to kind of narrow it down to three or four
Right.
subjects, and they don't really want to
Yeah.
branch out. And you've talked
That.
about, I know you said
Oh,
something about the
oh.
creek.
The creek, neon lights, going to the bar, Friday nights,
Hmm.
dirt roads. I'm like, right? We already got all that.
Hmm.
Write a song about a banana. I ate a banana. I left gym. I done this, done that.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
I'm, you know, I'm doing all these great things, but we already got the trucks. We already got the neon lights.
Hmm.
We already got, the creeks and the bar on Friday nights and all that.
Absolutely. Hmm.
We already got all that. Let's talk
Hmm.
about you driving up in your Hyundai to Taco Bell or something, or
Hmm.
how some of the riders they got to catch an Uber because they
Hmm.
don't have a ride. They got to catch an Uber to their songwriter
Yeah.
session, and
Hmm.
they're signed to a publishing deal and all that. Cause we saw down there in
Absolutely.
Nashville, and we
Absolutely.
went down there like 5 years ago before the pandemic hit.
Hmm.
The next month, whatever. But yeah, we seen it, and like what? But it ain't all glitz and glamour. But
Right.
they don't want to spend. I don't get it. They don't want to spend above the horizons of writing, and there ain't no
Hmm.
soul. There's no heart in the music. It's like
Absolutely.
it's like I watch an interview with a artist, Travis Tritt. I grew up listening to Travis Tritt,
Hmm.
and he was talking about the label down there. They just want to do the same thing like the other labels doing.
Hmm. Great
You
artist,
know,
by the way.
yeah. So I saw him concert in 2005. He was great.
Oh yeah.
He was playing, and that's all they do. They do, they chase one another down there, and
Hmm.
they don't like to think outside the box.
Right. And
And
that kind of brings me to another topic that I know we've kind of talked of. I mean, it was one that was on my list today in terms of when we look at the hip hop, we see a lot of resampling of, artists from the 90s, like your Tupacs and your Biggies and that type of
right,
thing.
right,
And it doesn't seem that we're getting a lot of originality, even with some of the artists that I like lyrically. I tend to see a lot of this similar style of production.
well,
And
yeah,
one thing I will say, people say what they will about Ricky Rose, Rick Ross. The one thing I love about you know, his albums is the way he really treats the production.
right,
Like you can hear horns, you can hear pianos, you can hear
yeah,
strings and that type of thing. You really hear like somebody put together some effort to really
right,
make that
yeah,
production stand out. And that's one thing we don't really see too much, at least when I'm like listening to the Sirius XM or something like that, and I'm just, browsing through driving.
mm-hmm.
I just tend to see a lot of the same repetitive patterns.
Well, that's what me and Mark Taylor, who was on the
Hmm.
first if so, we were talking a little bit about how the production with this
Hmm.
modern stuff is, and
Hmm.
everything sounds the same with
Hmm.
a hip hop to country with R&B and all that. And you're like, man, I can't listen to this stuff. I gotta go back to past 2006, all the way back to the 60s, whatever, because all this
Absolutely.
stuff, is like it's not listenable,
Hmm.
you know. But there's people out there, they got a taste for it, but it's like, I mean, like we grew up different, so
Hmm. Yeah.
we grew up when music was music, and the certain things were pushed. Right now it's like, all right, we're just trying to get the next tax write off, whatever,
Yeah,
for next year's
exactly.
tax deductions, whatever, and
Well, yeah, I told you somebody
uh
had said that, and I think that's probably true. I think a lot of because from an outside perspective, even looking at historical A&R, the caliber of some of these talents that they're signing, you couldn't tell me that you're being serious. I mean, there's just no way. I mean, I don't see it. There's nothing there. And there tends to be this dichotomy, this weird, interesting thing where they have, and we've talked about this, but I actually had this on my list of things to talk about. Whereas if you're with the label, it doesn't matter how good you are, it's automatically assumed it's legitimate. And if
right.
you're not backed by somebody coming down and some group or some music group saying,
Mhm.
this is you're like if you're just like you or me and you have a natural organic talent, they, meaning the audience, rebel against it because it's
Right,
almost like in this modern music, the way the social media and everything is, they're almost used to being tailor fed
right,
what what I'm saying, what it is that they want to pursue, meaning the audience. And so if you're not in that paradigm, if you're not a label, going through out of Nashville or out of New York or out of LA, if you're an independent, they rail against
right,
you a lot more than if you're a label artist.
right. Well, it's like the label artists, they've been marketed well, whatever,
Hmm.
and a lot of people don't realize some of the artists, they will be on labels for years.
Yeah.
No, and next thing you know, well, and I, all you gotta do is go on the phone, look at Apple Music,
Yeah.
Spotify. All right, let me see the history of so and so. Oh, well, they've been on label this whole entire time, but
Hmm.
it's like, the label just finally decided to push,
Hmm.
the certain things, and just, oh, well, we should push her a long time ago or him a long time ago. And, you know,
Well, they did that to Pink Floyd, and I told you that story where they were pretty much signed in '66, I think, and it wasn't until '72 or '73 that they finally started to take off. And then on Wish You Were Here, they kind of were making fun of all that, where they were talking about, have a cigar and welcome to the
right,
machine and that type of thing because for a long time they weren't really perceived as this big entity. They were just kind of like on the label, and then you take off, and then all of a sudden it's like they want to promote you now.
right,
But
yeah,
there's a lot of politics and timing that I think go into that as well. Whereas the labels want to do it when they think it's the
well,
time.
yeah,
And there's this idea that, we were talking about the rumors that they're trying to go to an ID now where you got to do that for distribution, and they're trying to lock down even more on independents gaining access to this system that they kind of feel
right,
like it in a lot of ways is their baby. Like it's kind of like we built Spotify and YouTube and all these content
right,
creation games up, and you're just here at our good grace or at our will, and we'll kind of play ball with you, if we feel like, I mean, that's kind of what it feels like,
Well, they it's like I went back and I saw some either on TikTok, Twitter,
hmm
YouTube, whatever, and they all start at one company they build up,
hmm
and then after the success of that company, they all went their separate ways and start YouTube, started Spotify, start all these little things,
hmm
and and they're still run the thing. So I mean,
Absolutely.
and now you got the distribution companies where I'm not going to say the names of them
Sure.
because pretty much everybody already knows.
Yeah.
But it's like when you're trying to pick a distribution partner to
Yeah.
use to put out your new release, you got to have something that makes sense. And a lot
hmm
of them, they want subscription, subscription, subscription. Nobody wants to pay a subscription. They already got Netflix. They already got this. They already got that. Paramount, not
hmm
Hulu, whatever. Then they got the cell phone. They got the LG&E. They get the electricity. They got to pay what? So, I mean, from business perspective, and like, well, we live in that subscription based lifestyle now. So maybe they
hmm
might want, no, I want to pay for my thing
hmm
and never have to deal with it again. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Or have a partner where I apply for the application, get on distribution,
Yeah.
and my stuff is set for life until hopefully they never go under.
Right.
But I never had to worry about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's interesting to talk about that because you and I at one time we were going through one of these partners, which will not go name, and they had what's known as a legacy feature where you could
Oh
leave
Lord.
your release up for the life, supposedly for the life of the release.
Right.
So
Which
I
ain't the
remember,
case.
well, I'm going to tell you
We'll
something.
get to that.
So I remember back where I put a song out, and I think it was an album. I think it was Love Left Lost.
Well, I know you have several releases
I
for
did.
them
I
just
had
like
two
me.
in particular that were on Legacy, and one was Love Left Lost, which I did. I think I ended up pulling that down, and that's been in the barrel. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. Maybe at some point I'll re-release it, but I honestly, inevitably want to get the vocals re-recorded on it. I just haven't had the
Right.
logistics and the time. I've had so much else going on. But I remember I was releasing it and I put it on legacy release, and a year went by. And then the next year, I got a charge. And so I went in there and I said, "What was this?" I got charged another year content ID on a legacy release. And I said, "Wait a minute, folks." I said,
Right.
if you're going to do legacy, especially, when it's like, it was like $80 for the legacy compared to CD Baby, which I think now is $10. And CD Baby
Right.
never
Yeah.
charges any of those fees. But this
Which is a
other,
good thing. I
which is a
read
good thing. I
that's
honestly support the CD Baby model. But this other distributor, I was like, so you tell me you're gonna charge me each year for a legacy release just to maintain it? So
mm,
what was the whole point of the legacy? The
right.
the idea of the legacy was no subscription. Well, you and I know.
Money, money, money. Go ahead, pay up. You
But
got all these features on here
the
behind closed doors.
But the interesting thing about that is you and I both know where that money is going. And that's the
Oh
fun.
well, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's going to all the
Yeah,
major artists they push and
yeah,
everything,
absolutely.
and then it's like then they want to, like, one of them, they took away everybody distribution privileges and
hmm
rolled out a new distribution program saying, well, we're invite only. And if you want to continue distributing with us, well, you got to go through our alternative distribution, and you got to pay $100 a year for release and
Hmm.
all this stuff. And then, and then say you're somebody like me who
Hmm.
been blown up since last year around this time.
Oh yeah, getting a lot of attention.
Oh yeah, and they're like, well, keep on doing you. If we're interested, we'll reach out and that was the end of that. You're like, well, wait a minute. All of the people that you're pushing, I have more viewership, more
Hmm.
buzz than they got. And I'm like, you know what? Let me keep on doing what I'm doing.
Keep on doing you. It's what I told one of them the other day. I applied for distribution with one of them that I had a previous paid
Right,
relationship with, but they unveiled this new application program where you could submit. So I went back in through my, "Oh,
right.
okay, I worked with them before," and then they gave me their usual spiel. Well, you don't have enough monthly listeners. But I said, the people y'all sign and they don't, I don't even
They
understand.
don't have the right amount, and same time they go push them in there with their bot farm
Yeah.
listeners and all that,
But then want to
and
penalize you $10 for
right,
doing, if you were to doing it, not to say that we do, but if you get caught, which nobody knows what that metric is, what even is caught, or what system are you using, it's all
right.
political. So
Well, it is.
if you're not on our team and we catch you,
Well, we already know the history of labels and everything. They
yeah,
pay these radio station payola back in the day.
absolutely.
Pay the mafia, whatever, the mob and all that, play the
They
records
were
and
heavily
all
involved in
that,
it. Hmm.
and I mean they still do that to this day with
Hmm.
um with the new streaming services and all that. It's like, that's like Drake came up to Kendrick's team about the whole
Hmm.
lawsuit about artificial streams and all that. We
Hmm.
already know because somebody who don't like you, they're gonna do whatever to take
Absolutely.
your stuff, and that be somebody Joe Smo out there in North Carolina. Oh, well,
Hmm.
I don't like Capitol Row. I don't like Bo Harris. Let me see what I can do, get their music off the platform. I
Right.
mean, anybody can do it.
Well, and that's kind of that whole tyrannical method
Right.
that they have about distribution. Like if we don't like you or you step out of line or you become politically difficult to our position, then you're automatically the enemy. We take you down off the platforms. We remove your access. You know what I mean? But this is a real thing, and what do you
Well,
do to
yeah.
fight it? You can't fight it. This is why a lot of people were going, and the indie artists were doing the Bandcamp route
Yeah,
because
man,
they
Cam.
thought that they could avoid that like political tyranny that's with distribution. But I mean, there's really no, I mean, the only other option would be start your own distribution label
Right.
itself and pay one of these aggregators. But I mean,
Yeah.
a lot, you got to have money up front, you got to pay costs per year, and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make sense to do that for just
Right.
yourself.
No.
So you're at the mercy of the system.
Yeah. You bend to the knee or
Yeah.
well, just put out there on a free platform, put out there on
On
SoundCloud or
SoundCloud until they start watch them start making that a thing.
well, they already got a system in place on that
Yeah.
too. Because if you got a copyright beat or something like major,
Hmm.
'cause I remember I did like a little song to one of Pimp C's songs, and they
Hmm.
automatically took it down off SoundCloud. Could do copyright by the
Hmm.
publishers and record company and all that, so you can't even go that route.
Well, you can get
So,
claimed even if it's not the same song. You and I've had several instances where we have to go fight to try to get things taken down. I had
oh
one
yeah.
with this other label, and they had their artists tied under the Sheets remix, and you would see it on the YouTube thing. And I
Yeah,
was like, "Who's this other artist?" And they
right.
said, "Well, we're not." And I said, "Where's my royalty at?" And they said, "Oh, we don't know anything about that. We don't have a claim to it." They said it's on the YouTube side, which you already know. And so it's like a lot of things about being independent DIY.
Or you
Go
take
ahead.
down the release from that
Yeah.
company, and they still got it up on YouTube.
Yeah. Which we had that with that one particular distributor that you talked about that
Right.
changed things. And they still had my stuff up there and all that.
Yeah.
And it was like, what? Why is my stuff still on YouTube? It didn't get fully taken down. But yeah, it's just crazy. The whole
Right.
thing with distribution, it should be this simple system where you just get your stuff out to market and you get paid and they take a percentage. It's never that easy. And
Right.
it
Right.
honestly detracts a lot of artists from getting out there and competing because I think they don't want to deal with this overly complicated system. And then you have to fight the platforms and you have to
Well,
sync YouTube and all
that
this up together. Go
that's
ahead.
another thing, when it come down to the artwork, you try to
Hmm.
go get some creative artwork by yourself. Then
Yeah,
well, you got this, you got that, you get this. But if you put that out through a major player, no issues.
absolutely.
That's like how you had to fight, get your burial grounds artwork out there, and they didn't like the open mic sign in the background, whatever. Oh, our beloved open mic. Why you got a shovel in there, sir?
Well, at that time, I was talking to some people, and they kept inviting me out to open mic, and it was just in
Uh,
the back of your mind. I don't have anything against people doing
right.
it, but at
Yeah.
that point,
No.
I'd done Deep Truth, we had done Wild Horse, and all this, and I'd went through so much and seen so much in this
Well,
industry.
yeah.
There was no way I was ever going back to open mic. And so when I was doing the burial grounds thing, I said, "Well, let's go ahead and put an official open mic stamp up there." Just to let everybody know, I'm never coming back to that. I deserve
Right.
way more than that, and so do you. And it's just one of those things I
Well,
wanted to make a statement on it. Go ahead.
it's like I tell everybody your new platform of open mic is
Hmm.
Instagram, TikTok,
Absolutely. Hmm.
YouTube.
Unfortunately, because
Yeah,
that's another
go.
topic.
Oh Lord, doing the live streams on there, whatever. If that's what you want to do. But that's your new form of
Yeah,
open mic,
absolutely.
unless you want to go out there, as I would say, volunteer your time. Because I'm
Well,
like,
I mean, I think it depends. If like I know, I follow Fabi Davis on Instagram, and he was doing one out there, and I was like, if you're gonna go out there with somebody that's doing stuff, that's
right,
where But oh, you going out, you got Dave Chappelle, and he's hosting.
right,
Go
yeah,
out and rub elbows with people, sure.
yeah,
But just, I mean, to go to your just standard average downtown cafe. Nah, man.
yeah,
I mean, when
no.
you're first starting out and you want to kind of meet people, yeah, it's a great place to
Or
network
get your
early on.
food,
Hmm.
your feet, kind of wet, trying to
Absolutely.
gain those experience, which we all got to do.
Absolutely.
So,
Nobody's above putting in the work and nobody's
right,
above grinding and cutting teeth. I'm still cutting teeth. I'm still going back and learning things. I've got books on music theory in here. I read constantly about music and I'm learning and growing. Growth is a lifelong thing.
oh yeah,
If you're not growing as an individual, learning new skills, then you're just kind of stuck. You
right.
want to
Well,
evolve.
it's like I told as a town agency a couple of years ago. I remember I told you this,
Hmm.
but not now I'm on the air or whatever. But I was talking to them because I was starting to get somewhere online,
Hmm.
whatever. Yeah, some things were coming up, and I talked to them. I'm like, okay, so y'all signing these influencers,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and stars off TikTok, but have they ever been on stage before?
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time they say no. I said, you got people with experience on stage, but you get
Mm-hmm.
somebody, and I'm knocking them, for doing their online thing, but doing the online versus getting on stage is totally different.
Absolutely, it is.
Totally different,
I'm so glad you
and
brought that up because that was actually on my list here. I got a piece of paper. And so
okay,
that and that topic was actually one, and that's this idea of being a social media star versus being a real composer and performer,
right,
and how in the modern realm we've got a lot of these Instagram virals, individuals, and we're not going to name names, but everybody's loving them because they did something a little bit different, or they were a little bit cliche, and they had something about them that got them this viral status. But going back to your point, do they know how to perform? And they don't. And do
no,
they
they
have
don't know
something to
how to perform.
perform? Most of them don't. And so what do you do with them? If I'm in that position and let's say you have a, 5 million reach, which that's great,
Right, yeah,
but
that's
but
great.
at the same time, what are we going to do with you? How do I convert that
Right,
off the platform into a reality that's something that we can package and do something with? You can't just do it based on your name. And, eventually people want something bigger to invest in down the road.
right,
And you need to be able to make that transition from, okay, so I was doing skits or whatever I was doing on Instagram or TikTok. Now, how do I actually go and make that a viable entity?
right. How can I transform that into
Yeah,
having a crowd out there
yeah,
and not, it's like they were they're still trying to push this one guy. We won't
mm-hmm,
bring up his name,
mm-hmm,
but must love whatever he got going on. He doing good, whatever.
mm-hmm,
But it's like they made him in a sensation online, but
mm-hmm,
he going out there performing. The guy has to have his teleprompter on stage, just
mm-hmm,
perform the songs.
mm-hmm.
And I
And
mean,
he's
it's
not
not,
performing his original work
no,
either.
no,
You and I
no.
both have heard his original
Oh,
work,
yeah,
but he's not performing that live. He's
no,
just performing the things that he was known for on Instagram.
yeah. So, I mean, and that just tell everybody, well, he's not a real performer, but
Hmm.
not not putting any shame on him. He
We're
doing what
not
he
putting
loves to
him
do.
down in any way.
Yeah,
And let me say this, for everybody we're critical of, there's always the opportunity
oh
that you're
yeah,
going to come back and I don't ever sleep on anybody, like DJ
right,
Khaled said. Because I never know. You may come back and you may
right,
have something, but I have to take you based on what I'm seeing now. And you have
right,
to have something beyond that height to go and deliver if you're going to take this, multi-city tour or
right.
that type of thing.
Well,
You
you
got to
want to
have a
be
product.
you
Go ahead.
if you want to be great, you're gonna have to put in the work just like I
Yeah,
did.
absolutely.
If you want to be great, you should be telling yourself, "Hey, I beside me doing all this online
Hmm.
stuff, I'm gonna go out here and put in the pep in myself, whatever, and try and
Hmm.
make myself better because eventually I don't want to be known as that.
Hmm.
That's like me doing the comedy. I said, I want to do music. That's my
Hmm.
first love. I don't,
Absolutely.
I go back do comedy, whatever, whenever I want.
Hmm.
But I said, let me do the music thing when everybody tell me, oh, well, it ain't going to work out. And then, here we are 8 years later
Hmm.
and, I'm buzzing online and everything. But, you should want that. You should want
Hmm.
better for yourself. If you don't want better for yourself, then you're gonna have to rethink. Well, what do I want to do? Do
Hmm.
I want to continue doing what I'm doing, or do I want to take that next step, be the bigger star that I know I can be,
Hmm.
and
Well,
reinvent what I'm doing?
well, CM Punk said it best: if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big
Yeah.
enough.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, and that's one of those things. You always gonna, when you get on stage, you're always gonna have those thoughts that run back into your mind and that type of thing. They say Whitney Houston, Kevin Costner said Whitney Houston struggled with that all her life, and
Oh yeah.
if Whitney Houston is talented, and just what a
Oh yeah.
remarkable talent,
The
what a
real queen.
remarkable talent, and a
Yeah.
wonderful human being, very creative. But as good as she is, if she questioning herself, we're all gonna question ourselves,
Oh
and
yeah. I question
everybody's gonna go,
myself
yeah,
24/7.
yeah.
Yeah.
But to that point, wanting better for yourself, that also kind of correlates to another topic I wanted to talk about, which was the ups and downs of mix engineers and getting a.
Uh,
I
here
did.
we go.
Look, yeah, look at his face. As soon as I bring
Oh,
it up, now
oh
they love
Lord.
what they do, don't
The
you?
the 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 real drama. The real drama.
And it's
Like
like, where do we even begin? We've had engineers walk out of the mix on us and say they were going out to eat. We've had we've had engineers refuse to print 32 bits. We've had engineers pull all kinds of shenanigans. We've had engineers ghost on the mix and have to get refunded because they just stopped.
and then they come at you. Well, you're trying to scam. You didn't even mix the project, man. You said, well, I put the Frank Sinatra vocal plate on there. Where? On the other person's mix? Are we even talking about the same thing, man? I don't think we are. Well, it's on there. I I got the car speakers on full blast. I can't
Yeah.
hear it.
Well, and I think a lot of that is if you look at the mix engineered form, they always have this joke: client that pays 1,000 for a mix versus client that pays 100 for a
Oh,
mix,
well,
and
we
they have
got
this thing.
Andy and we got the record. Man, if y'all quit with this BS,
It's
quit
crazy.
with the BS, man. Just charge one price.
You just charge one
And
price and don't include all them extra charges. I should never
oh
pay for an
Lord.
instrumental printout or an extra printout. I shouldn't have to pay for stems if I want that, which normally I don't want the mixed stems because I have the dry. But even if I did, I shouldn't have to pay for all that. Why do I have to pay for you to do something that you pretty much can do
or
in
call
30
you over
seconds?
or call you over the phone. Hey,
Yeah.
I need these masters for the show.
Hmm.
Um, Bo gonna come get them
Yeah.
tomorrow,
Hmm.
and then get down there to the studio with him. Well, I get down there at the vocal lesson. It was not too long ago. It was what was it? It was March or April, whichever
Hmm.
one. And I was already running on fumes and come from vocal lesson, whatever, and then just trying to get the money out of ATM and all
And then
that.
I get
And
the message. Rob, Rob, he changed on us.
then
All right, hold on. Let me send the guy another 80.
yeah, but it's like, so you charge me, you know, for not being assessed and whatever, and
Yeah.
you had the masters on another disc.
Hmm.
I'm like,
And he pretty much charged us to do a discovery of the files.
right, all
Like
right,
I
put that on the next mix when you go online. All right, discovery charge, moving fees to move the instruments from point A to point B down there in Nashville. Well, that's normal. Look, I'm paying. That's
Exactly.
up to them. They got a vehicle to drive to the studio. I'm not
Absolutely.
in charge. 2 men in a truck to have them come. bring two guitars on a 2 minute truck. Yeah, just show up to the studio with him. But it just didn't with all that, really,
Hmm.
and it's now,
Well,
well,
and I think you and me get frustrated because we know had we been connected or had we come in with so and so's referral or approval or that type of thing, somebody in quote unquote music row or that type, somebody that they feel is connected or established, it won't be any of that. It'll be a whole different process. We'd be treated more professional. The rates would be reduced and that type of thing.
but
And a
instead
lot of
you get
that,
the
uh,
black sheep
yeah.
slash bastard stepchild
Hmm.
treatment. Well,
Absolutely.
we ain't gonna do A, B, or C, but we'll go ahead and do A, B, or C for the
For
next
him.
person who comes
Hmm.
in here. It's very political for no reason.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. It's
you're
all
like,
about who you know. Hmm.
right. And you coming in there paying your money and like, wait a minute, this ain't sounding like some Houston stuff. This ain't sounding like the big time. Y'all got my, I can do a better demo mix than what
Hmm.
y'all print out. And then you, like yourself, you send a
Hmm.
laundry list and once.
Shout out to Houston, by the way. Shout out to the great music that's come out of that
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
town and the
I
great
grew up on
engineers
it.
down there. Hmm.
Grew up on it. And, I mean, yeah,
Well,
I
I
mean,
learned a lot more about the Houston scene from you. I mean, I knew about
yeah.
Scarface but I didn't really know as much about Zero and that type of thing and some of
Yeah.
the other guys. And then I remember traveling with you and you were banging it, in the
Oh, yeah.
car. And I was like, what is this? This is actually really, really, really
Oh,
amazing.
yeah.
It's a shame that it's not really accepted more, what I mean, by the what you would call mainstream or
Well,
whatnot.
they really had their hype back in 2005,
Yeah.
and then it was going strong for a few years, and then
Yeah.
I just don't. They all the Houston guys talk about it all the time, but I
Yeah.
mean, it's like the same thing happened with Atlanta. Atlanta,
Hmm.
they were jamming
And
back in
Seattle
the
too, back in the
yeah.
day. Like Seattle had an incredible scene in the grunge era. You know what I mean?
But all they talking about now is New York,
Yeah.
L.A., and Nashville,
But you and I made
and
the point that we don't really hear any real big acts coming out of Nashville. You know what I mean? And it seems like the ones that do get signed down there are people that have already been established down there and they
right,
just get
right.
like new deals. But I don't see any like big talent coming out of like the writers room down there or coming out of anything associated with it. Now we see some publishing deals that have come down there, but
Right.
they're not,
But
nobody's
now,
signing big deals out of
well,
Nashville.
now the publishing deals, they're all going with third party companies and
Hmm.
whatnot.
Yeah.
Like these other artists who've been around, they'll sign, somebody and they be connected. This one publishing company, and you're like, oh, okay. Well, do they not want to
Hmm.
sign people directly anymore?
That's the question.
Just like our publishing agreement with BeatStars and whatever.
Hmm.
Um, how that how that works out, whatever. But it's like, oh, okay, I get access to this major publishing company, but I gotta go through third party
Hmm.
to just get.
Right. And you can't ask the primary party
No,
any
no, no.
questions because we went down that route and we were not welcome.
Well, just on up in their office, and you
Yeah.
just talk to them on the phone like the day before.
And I remember there was a girl there, and she was kind of like blow it. We were like, "All right, what are we doing here? I want to talk to whoever's in charge of publishing at Sony."
Right,
And they were like, "You're not getting it. Go away. Bye bye." And then I
right.
remember you walked in with me, and we were both in suits in
Yeah.
Nashville. And I said, "Hi," and she said, "Hi," and I said, "You remember me?" She probably got my photo on a do not
Right.
do not call list somewhere down. But they
Don't
were
call
so
that.
shocked that we came
Don't
down to
don't call
Nashville.
that SOB back. And then I remember you email them, and then they
Yeah.
said, "Don't ever email us again."
Who
I'm
do
like,
you
"That
think you are, peasant?
right."
Type
But
of
that's just how
mentality.
they are.
That
Very, very close knit.
Well, they're very buddy buddy, and it's like I
Well,
don't
yeah,
I don't believe in that. I believe in the old school free market approach. Like you have a good or a service that I want, I'll come in, I'll give you X amount of dollars, and you provide me the very best that
be
you
right
can.
back. You keep
Oh,
on talking.
okay, yeah, he's
You
gonna
keep
get a
on
little
talking.
yeah, he's
Talk to
gonna
the
get a little
people.
show going on for us, a little strip tease, huh? Oh Lord, I tell you what.
Your experience.
Oh, you want to talk about your experience dealing with the Nashville engineers? Now that they're going to say, "Why, Cabell? You could have, you could have been one of us. You could have been loved by us. You could have been one of us." Oh man, woo! This is why I'm high. This is why I'm high. This is why, this is why, this is why I'm
Yeah, we ain't even gonna make it to episode 3. We're gonna get canceled
Sir,
today.
sir, due to conflicts in your speech,
Right.
you're going to be banned from the platform, sir.
But
But
as you were saying,
Well, yeah, as I was saying before, I got silly while you were gone. But there does seem to be this element of being brought into their ways, and I think a lot of other
right,
artists have made that connection. Meaning I think Nicki Minaj was one that made that connection. They don't like independence. They don't
oh
like
no,
something they don't have their hands on.
well, yeah,
They want to have their hands and be in utter control over you and over what you produce. And that's just the way the industry
right.
is.
Well, it's like just trying talking about send your stuff down to
Oh
get
yeah,
on the radio, whatever, and they say,
yeah,
"Well, your song's overproduced."
right.
And talking about the whole aspect. Well, we're looking for stuff that's underproduced. I'm like, what do you mean underproduced? Well, certain aspect where there's a guitar, your
Hmm.
basic drum, not a full drum set, just like a snare and a clap track or whatever, finger snap track, and then we'll just go ahead and roll with that. But
Hmm.
you know, it, they don't want to deal with full scale production anymore.
Hmm.
And like you say, that's a great thing about Rick Ross, Zero, and
Hmm.
all these other cats, because they're even Bruno Mars and
Hmm.
what they did with Silk Sonic, they
Hmm.
brought out that full scale
Oh
production
yeah.
again. And you're like, man, this is music to my ears because it
Well,
is.
I think people often wonder what drives an artist like you or me. And I think for me is I want to discover that tree that no one else
Right.
has seen in a valley somewhere. I want to discover something new. And so when you tell me that country can't have horns in it, or jazz can't have banjo guitar in it,
Right.
or country can't have, electric keys in it. It's got to have an
Right.
upright piano. When you limit the palette, you start to take away freedom. And I think that's the biggest shift in music of this time, and music, if we want to go back Pink Floyd or 70s or 60s even, is they didn't care so much about those type of particulars. They cared about the final product and is it gonna go somewhere. And I think if you had a lot more leeway, if you had success in the past, then you could have that creative freedom. Now they don't really want that creative freedom. They
No.
want it molded to target a certain demographic, and it's got to fit within a certain perimeter. It's got to be packaged a certain way. But that's not art.
Well,
That's controlled art. It's
yeah.
controlled art, is
Well,
what it is.
it's like what me and Mark discussed the other
Mm-hmm.
day.
Mm-hmm.
How they're just making music just for 30 seconds for
Mm-hmm.
social media,
Yeah.
and that's it. Mostly for TikTok. Well, let's go ahead promote that 10-second
Mm-hmm.
clip of in the new TikTok clips,
Mm-hmm.
whatever they call it, TikTok, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll just go ahead push that, pay the
Absolutely.
influencers because that's their new way of payola
Mm-hmm.
right there. They're paying the influencers like entertainment indies and record companies and all that.
Mm-hmm.
They all do it. You know, I mean, even WWE does it. They get the influencers come out there to shows and everything, which people know of. Because
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to build that hype for the show. That's
Absolutely.
business. That's their way of doing
Which
business.
is smart, and we have
Yeah,
to give them credit for doing that and bringing a lot of actors. They brought a lot of actors out and that type
yeah,
of thing, which is great. I think that's
yeah.
great for their particular brand. And honestly, go ahead and say success to them because I think they're hotter now than they've been in a very
Oh
long
yeah.
time. So good
Now
for
you not
WWE.
you ain't gonna like every show. That's just the way it is.
Well,
But
yeah, that's always been the case.
oh yeah. I mean that's just the way it is. But yeah, it's like but going back to pushing them songs for TikTok, that's the
Hmm.
main focus now. Well,
Absolutely.
what can we do to make this artist blow up
Hmm.
less than 30 seconds?
But then the problem with that, the question then becomes, what's the purpose of art in the
Exactly.
modern realm? What does it, because it should be about moving people or making people think differently or expressing life. But when that focus goes away and it's all about this pre-programmed message or this pre-programmed ideal or ideology that I want to pursue, it just becomes meaningless. There's no
Right.
real point to consume it. And I think you're seeing that. I think there's a lot of people that are going back and listening to older music because there's just nothing of substance in the current market. There's nothing there. So,
Right. Well, that comes to the AI.
mhm,
AI is used for a tool, but it's like there's been several people in the house seat
mhm,
because they want to use AI artists because they're more compliable and all that. They don't, fight back on the art with them. So
mhm. Well, it's not real art if you don't fight
yeah,
back on it. I'm gonna go ahead and
exactly.
tell you,
Yeah, yeah,
it's not real art.
yeah.
Again, the whole Joni Mitchell said this. The whole point of the artist was to rebel. The whole point of art is to rebel against what an artist feels is wrong,
Right,
society, politics, all these things. They're
right.
all rebellion against these establishments. But if you don't have that, you just have this complicit little thing that people
Where
listen to.
there's no film, there's no
Yeah.
heart into it. There ain't nothing there, and it's basically, it just wasted time.
Hmm.
It is
I
supposed to be
agree.
used as a tool, like
Hmm.
Like that was like and now I got a tool in this DAW software we use to record our music in.
Hmm.
Both separate your
Oh yeah.
tracks. And now, I went back and looked at the video and I'm like, yeah, yeah. Just go ahead, pay band,
Hmm.
have a lead sheet for them, recreate the track for you because
Hmm.
the
Well, you and I
sound.
want to do that at some point. I would
Well,
love to get
yeah,
with the full band. I would love that so much.
yeah. All right, boys, go ahead. All right, ladies, 1, 2 on the mic. Have
Hmm.
all that. I, growing up, that's all I imagine of seeing all the time. You know, seeing your James Brown, your Barry White, your
Hmm.
Pavarotti, then late night TV shows and all that. Just seeing that, you're like, oh man, that's what I want to do. And that's what we're trying to get to.
Hmm.
It seemed like it's all the way out there in the ocean, but it might be closer than what we think.
Hmm.
Just like it
Yeah.
says in those mirrors on the side of your car,
Hmm.
uh, uh, the appearance might be closer than what you think. Oh shit! The sensor didn't go off.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, but other than that, how'd you really get your start chasing? After your success of the
Hmm.
collab albums and
Well, that's
just
interesting. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh well, I didn't know what I was gonna say after that, so I
Well,
had a brain fart there.
it's interesting. People, and this was one of the questions that we got asked was, how did you and I meet? And you and I met because we were both chasing something. I remember when I first moved to Louisville, one of the first things I did is I came down with family and we went to this open mic and we met a guy that we both knew that
Yeah,
was running open mics.
right,
Now I'm not going to
right,
mention his name because he's been through a lot and he's had a lot of ups and downs lately. But I remember I ran up to the open mic. I wanted to get
right.
there. I could not wait. I said, take me and let's go. I had
Now,
this
were you
hunger.
doing open mics before you moved to Louisville,
Yes, absolutely.
or
But it
okay,
was kind of hit or miss because I was in Virginia for a while and I was in a bunch of other different places. And I didn't always have access to the caliber or the
right,
number of open mics that I had in Louisville. But yeah, I would play every once in a while. I go down. I played a Dinwiddie Diner down outside of Petersburg, Virginia, and they
mm-hmm,
used to have an open mic. I played there. I played Cup and Saucer in Kansas City. So I played at a couple different places here and there. And I also performed instrumental music for a while when I was in college. I was part of a guitar ensemble. So I had done a lot of
right,
stuff off and on before I had made to Louisville. But I needed an area to really grow into that had access to more things like studios
right,
that had access. And so I was hungry. The quick answer is
yeah,
I was hungry. I was out chasing. This is what I wanted to do. I knew without a shadow of a doubt I could do it because I'd been doing it, but I knew I could do it on a bigger level. I just
right.
didn't know
Well, you
how.
you you were just like me, trying to
Yeah.
explore different cities, but I was still living here. But I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I'm like, I heard about
Yeah. I
Indianapolis
was going to say
Comedy
you went to
Club.
Indianapolis a couple times.
I'm trying to go down there in Nashville, do one
Yeah.
of their things, and then they canceled the event like an hour before the thing. So I
That
drove
sounds
back
like
home.
Nashville.
And they're still running business now. But I'm like,
Hmm.
I need more, because you
Hmm.
get that one taste of success
Hmm.
and it feels good. You
Yeah.
want that, you want more adrenaline,
Hmm.
more taste of that success. You're gonna do whatever it takes to do the next thing,
Hmm.
and that's just part of the fuel in your blood, whatever, you're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh man, this is really a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I was the same shoes,
Yeah.
and
And going back to where you and I met, I was just going to different ones, and I remember we would both go to Maple Inn in J-Town. Shout
yeah,
out to Maple Inn, man. Maple Inn Tavern.
right,
They showed us so much love out there just
right,
throughout the years in general. But I remember one night I went out there, and I think I had went a couple times and you weren't there. And I went out and I known Stuart and old Wayne and
right.
Wayne knew you, I think, if I recall correctly, because
Uh,
or
can't even
maybe
remember.
I can't remember. But anyways, somehow I was talking to Wayne, and we got to the conversation of you. I remember we were out in the parking lot, and you'd sung something that night, and I can't remember what it. Maybe it was "Used in Mexico," or something you had
I
done.
can't remember.
I can't remember either, but I
Because
remember,
I was in my transition
yeah.
from doing comedy
No.
to music, you know.
But I remember I had said, you need to be with a band. And I
Yeah,
never thought in a million years you would want me to do guitar with you. I just was
yeah.
trying to be helpful
Well,
to
I
you.
was like, I need guitar for this track. I need guitar for this. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I know this great guitar player down there at Maple Inn. Let
Yeah.
me see if
And so
he.
one thing led to another, and we
And then
did Views
we,
in Mexico.
and then after that, we,
I
all right,
remember
well,
you came over one day and you were like,
yeah,
you ready to get started on something really big? And I was like, what the heck are you talking about? What do you mean something real big?
yeah.
And that's what led to Deep Truth. Deep Truth led to
Yeah.
Wild Horse and then this whole
Well,
stuff.
just doing going from Views of Mexico into
Yeah.
doing the first show down there, Air Devils Inn,
Yeah, all that
and
too.
I remember you were calling me that night. I think it was the night before, or maybe it was that next show with it.
Yeah.
But we had another person on there. I mean, must love that guy. But anyhow,
Hmm.
I'm like, let's go ahead and try to do our own show, whatever,
Hmm.
see how that works. And we were walking in Rebel Town, Air Devils Inn,
Hmm.
is infamous as a old biker club back in the day, whatever.
Hmm.
They go ahead and do something there because everybody else was doing stuff down there.
Yeah.
Shout out ownership down there, Christie, and so we just gave it a go. And
Hmm.
then they had like a music show the night before. Oh, the two ladies came up there
Hmm.
because apparently they left their equipment up there, whatever case may be,
Hmm.
and they said, "Oh, you doing something with Bo?"
Hmm.
And well, and I remember, you telling me this a couple
Hmm.
times, I think not too long ago either. And well, good luck.
Hmm.
We heard all about Bo. Y'all shouldn't be working together and all
Hmm.
that. That guy's a character. He's nothing but bad news. They were saying the same thing to you. Well, y'all shouldn't be doing the show together and all this. So jealousy since day one, still
Yeah.
going on. But
Hmm.
and it just turned out to be great chemistry, whatever. Then split up money at Circle K, buying a pack of M&Ms one night, and me leaving marijuana town over there because it smelled like marijuana town at the gas station. Yeah, let me go ahead and get out of here, Ron. You keep your half.
Well, that's another thing. We were talking about recent shows. Uh,
Oh,
and somebody had asked what it was like to do hometown versus, an out of town. And I think it's about the same, really. I think
it it
maybe, go ahead.
it is. it is the same, but
And
it just
to me, it
depends.
is. I think you got more advantage at the hometown show
Well,
because
you do.
it's kind of like when CM Punk goes back to Chicago, you know he's going to have more leverage over the
Well,
crowd
yeah,
because you get
yeah.
that hometown buzz. But to me, it's the same, you know.
It's the same because,
Hmm.
well, technically, when you go out of town with it, you never know what you're gonna
But
step
you never know
into.
that on the local level either. You could show up and it
Oh
could be
yeah.
wild down at a local show. So,
Well, yeah. I mean, like I tell people before, I've performed in front of zero people before. I'm
hmm.
performing in
Yep,
front, 1,000 people before. Long
hmm.
I'm up there having a good time,
That's all
that's
that matters.
that all matters. I mean, I remember the January show at the Whirling
Hmm.
Tiger. I don't think, well, you performed a couple years before at someplace in West Virginia.
Hmm.
And
Bell, West
and
Virginia.
yeah,
Hmm.
and it's been about maybe about 3 or 4 years for me.
Yeah.
So I was anxiety all week, whatever, but just stepping out there, we had a great turnout.
hmm.
We did
I was
really
actually
well.
really happy with most of the show. Well, pretty much all of them, to be honest. Um, I wish the logistics on some of these shows were a
Well,
little bit tighter and
you
they had
always
been
do.
promoted more. But I mean, that's
Well,
not.
that's it's like me and Mark talked about the other day. That's
Hmm.
like you step in with menus and stuff. Some people gonna promote it, and
Yeah.
some of us they just gonna put it on you, and then no,
Hmm.
well, it's on you. People didn't come out. Well, you got the tickets.
Hmm.
You're in control of the tickets. I can only do so much. If I got the ticket total, whatever, ticket tally,
Hmm.
whatever, I can know what I need to do to bring more people in.
Absolutely.
You know, so if you don't give me a ticket number, I don't know what I'm going to be stepping into. I don't
Hmm.
know if 200 people going to show up. Well, I don't know if 5 people going to show up.
Yeah.
But
And so
this
that's
part of,
where you got to have a promoter, you got to have somebody make sure that you're
well, yeah,
whole before you come out, you know. And that's why people like, well, why you got to have all this lined up? I got to make sure that I eat at the end of the day.
right.
That's rule number one in show business. Now, don't be wrong. I obviously want to make sure if I'm
But you
playing a
want to
show with
make
you, you eat too. But I'm saying at the end of the day, I got to make sure that I do what's best for me, so I'm
right,
not out here, taking losses and that type of thing.
right. Well, you want to make a return. You want
Hmm.
to. I'm putting so much into this,
Yeah, absolutely.
and I need to have people there. I was taught that you got to do whatever it takes to get asses in the seats.
Receipts. There you
That's what
go.
I learned from a fellow comic who passed away earlier this year. He
Hmm.
said, it's all, if you get the asses in the seat, that's what it's all about. It don't matter how you do, as long as they show up,
Hmm.
you won. You still win when you get up there and perform on stage, but when you get people in the crowd, whatever, you done real well.
Hmm.
I mean, no question about it. Now people say, "Well, I only see 5 people in the crowd." Well, have you ever done anything? Have you ever?
Well, let's go back to that, talking about the whole social media
Oh,
thing,
troll country.
well, I think it's a disingenuous thing because I think a lot of these people are just automatically scrolling and saying, "I hate this. Come on, it's not what I want." That type of thing, and they're just railing against it. But I've asked this question: are you really critiquing it? Are you really unfolding what's in front of you? Or are you just saying, "I don't like it"? well, why don't you like it? Well, I don't want to tell you why I don't like it. I just don't like
Right.
it. Or
Yeah.
you just can't sing, or you can't, you can't perform, you can't do this. But yet, if you're going to make that comparison, then I mean, I don't understand why are you telling me that I should be pushing all these other rappers and country stars that are, in my opinion, 100 times worse. But because they're, pushed, and going back to that earlier point, because they're pushed by the label, you all won't fight it. You all
Right.
accept it. But because I'm doing everything as an independent, you don't want to accept the independent. And there's a lot of that culture on social media now that's really,
Oh yeah. Well,
really negative, so to speak.
well, it social media is a tool, but at the same
Yeah,
time, it's bad.
it is. It's toxic. It's negative.
Yeah. I mean, but I mean, it came a long way though, but because
But at the
we,
same time, I really feel like artists should have never been wrapped into this whole social media. It's not really our role. Our role should be to create. And
right.
when you have to deal with the monitoring of the social media, it's actually a negative on creation because it takes so much energy to,
Oh, it like doing
maintain
these,
all these platforms.
it like doing these cover videos, build up the engagement, and like
Right.
trying to do record in the mic, record on the phone with the camera, and then having synced up with the karaoke track on YouTube, whatever, and then trying to transfer all that, cut it down, doing all this.
Hmm.
Yeah, it takes damn 2 hours for a 30-second
Yeah.
video.
And it's even worse when you try to upload video,
Oh
especially
yeah.
to Vivo.
Well, especially when this one uploads, yeah, it's gonna be long. It's gonna be an all day thing.
Just
It's
get
gonna be
something
all
out
day.
there.
But just get something out there, I mean, it takes a whole lot, but I mean, you just got to do it
Absolutely.
because there are people out there they won't post for months,
Hmm.
and then they call you on the phone. Oh, well, I don't understand. You gotta be consistent.
Hmm.
I hate posting 5 times a day. It's too much work to
It's
do copy and
draining.
paste.
It really starts to drain you.
Yeah,
And you got other things going on that you got
right.
your
Yeah.
own life. You and me go to the gym, so you got gym time.
Oh yeah, gym time,
Hmm.
best time. But you gotta do all this. You gotta try to record a new album or do whatever. You gotta do warm ups.
Hmm.
That takes almost 30 minutes, depending on what you're doing. But
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, it takes a lot of time. Then they say you gotta post 5 times a day just to see one person click like on your video.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, but going back how we met at the
Hmm.
mic, and you going from recording Deep Trude down to Wild Horse, and the next one, which is still been sitting forever in the archives, being re-recorded 6 different times, and then, oh well, I got a new mic. We're gonna have to re-record it
And
again.
then probably abandoned after that.
Yeah, probably sit for another 2 years. Oh
But that's the way a lot of stuff's been, man. A
yeah,
lot of stuff that we drop has just been sitting there for a while,
oh yeah.
you know.
I got production been sitting for 5 years, and I haven't
Hmm.
wrote to it, nothing,
Hmm.
record to it. Yeah, just sitting there like, oh, okay,
That's in the vault.
it's
So,
in the vault. It'll see a light of day in 10 years. Gotta go get a new external hard drive. Put all my backup on another backup. But so where was I getting to?
So
um,
going back to Deep Truth, you said Wild Horse and those albums.
Wild Horse, and then what
Hopeless
else?
Heart,
Yeah, Hopeless Heart, and all that.
and
Well,
then the
getting
soul
you
stuff.
to yeah,
Hmm.
getting you to record soul stuff,
Hmm.
and
Well, I think you and me have just kind of went about the way of or viewing it as when we're ready, we just pick up and work on a song
oh yeah,
throughout the years. And a lot of these soul stuff, we've just been going through ups and downs. I mean, can't believe. I think we mixed it what, two times, and then we got it on the third or something.
uh, it might have been one more
Yeah.
than that. I can't remember.
But I know we went through several different engineers, and I just never thought we were ever going to get that song right, and we would get to it, but there
I
was
don't
still this
think it.
imbalance between our
Yeah,
vocals.
I still don't. Well, most of them don't like working on different stuff at one
Yeah,
time. They like, oh well,
they like one artist, I think.
yeah, one hour stick to that, and then we got. I think they really prefer having the artists come into the studio
Hmm.
and record the same time on their microphone. But when they get, well, it's too much in frequencies and all that, and
Hmm.
well, then you go listen to right. Well, how in the hell did they get A right with B and everything?
Hmm.
You got collab on there. Um, and like it don't make any sense.
That's
So
just how it is.
yeah, that's how it is. But now you
Hmm.
doing you doing the got a brain fart again.
That's all right.
So what you got going on right now?
I mean, I'm kind of in a bit of a slow season right now, and people
Right.
may be wondering why that is. Well, the last 3 years, I've had a project coming out like literally every
Oh yeah.
month. Sometimes I had two or three a month, and just different stuff I would kind of get inspired to work on and create, and then I did a lot of the self mixing and mastering on the instrumental stuff. Some of that turned out good. Some of it, it
Yeah,
just
you
is what
already
it
know.
is. But right now, I've got a song I'm working on that I just had sent to mix engineer, and I didn't like the mix. So,
Well, then he
and this
tell
was
you,
after like eight revisions, and I think I just abandoned it.
yeah, you like, well, we get the next revision, they're gonna be a $50 revision fee.
Well, and see, that's a lot of thing they don't talk about with these engineers. When after they get so many revisions, then they want to start nitpicking how much they're charging you. But yet, I don't understand because you'll hear other work by the same engineer and it sounds incredible and impeccable. And you're
Yeah,
like, I don't understand. So you did this with this particular artist, but with my work, it sounds like this. And then you want to blame it on the mic or you want to blame it on how it's being recorded. But all this is dry stem production. It's not like I'm sending you a mixed, piano thing that's already got EQ on it.
yeah, that's
Everything's
recorded out in the
clean.
garage with the
Right.
squirrels and birds shit on the roof, whatever. And you're hearing the squirrels drop the nuts and all that. You ain't, I mean, you're like, make it make sense. Some ain't adding up, but you're like,
Well, again,
whatever.
that comes back to the politics of
Yeah, well,
who you know and how much pull you have, and that's kind of what gets you results. And I wish the music business wasn't like that, but that's just how the business is. I mean, at least
yeah.
certain aspects and features of it. So, but yeah, right now I'm working on that, and then after that, I don't know. I'm I think you and I are both in the same category here. We're kind of at this in between where, we've done
Right.
all these things, but we're waiting on somebody to be like, okay, here's an opportunity or here's a door to open. And so
Right.
outside of that, I'm just going to be working on things here and there, but
Yeah, I'm
I don't
going
have any big projects planned other than this
right.
one song I'm working on right
Yeah.
now.
Like I'm gonna lay low. I'm gonna do what I'm
Yeah.
doing before.
Hmm.
I did a small tour
Yeah.
and some comes up, some comes up.
Well, if you all want to get serious, then get serious. Let's see what your serious looks like. Who you got on the bill? Who can you bring out? What can you get it? Can you get it on radio? Can you get it on Sirius XM? Can you really take something serious and really do it at a large level, or are you just gonna keep saying, well, we got a show out here in Idaho for you, but you got to find your own way out here, and you got
I
to
ain't
do
doing all
all
that.
this, and you got to pay for your own motel. Do y'all even know how
No,
expensive all that is?
it saying well, I was saying that the other day, but it's like point now, I got to charge a fee because
Yeah.
that's just the way it is.
Mm.
If I don't see the money in the account, whatever, in the contract, whatever, I ain't leaving the driveway. I
Hmm.
leave the driveway, go to the grocery store, go to gym, wherever I need to go. But
Hmm.
do a show and much preparation I gotta do, and then with all
And they
that,
just have no idea beating that set list
no,
over and over again,
or
like prepping to the crowd, acting like you're talking to the crowd,
yeah,
play performing, running it over and over again,
or
making sure every bit of the lyric is there, making sure that you're smiling and doing all these things. Like this is all prep. This is like weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of prep
or
work.
just transportation getting there,
Yeah,
like
just
almost missing your
transportation.
flight in
Yeah.
the Dallas airport and all that, and catch an Uber once you get
You got a
to
little
the show and
special action
everything.
with Debbie at TSA. All right, son, I've seen
Yeah,
it
they
all.
they they pat your junk down. Sir, your penis came up as metal. We need go pat you down. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, I'm like, well, do you want to do it out here in the public or you want to go do it in the room?
And
Go.
Shanae's like, I'm gonna enjoy this, white boy.
Yeah, well, it was more of Nathan. Uh,
Oh, that's even worse.
yeah, but I
I
mean,
only do this every once.
well, you're not gonna feel embarrassed. Go ahead, do your thing, man. All right, nothing there. All right, have a good day.
But yeah, I mean, it's just a whole big thing.
Well, yeah.
And people just don't realize. They think, you just go and perform a show. It's a lot of work. And you got to
Well,
make
yeah.
sure, you got to make sure it's pushed the right way. I don't want
Well,
to
yeah. And
be showing up to a show and I feel like I spent more time, money, effort, and energy into promoting it than you did. And the
yeah.
venues will say, well, it's on the artist now because y'all got social media. Well, first of all, social media is hit or miss, and that's just a whole nother separate
Well,
thing. But I mean, secondly, it should be on you to do your part.
like what I said before years ago, I said, can your venue draw
Mm-hmm.
on a normal day? On a normal day, can your venue, without a performer there or anything like that, just even your small DJ playing the music in the corner, can
Mm-hmm.
your venue draw to sell your liquor on regular nights, food or whatever case may? Can you draw? Can you have a
Mm-hmm.
happy hour that
Absolutely.
brings out more people?
Mm-hmm.
If you can't, then you shouldn't be putting it on the artist. The
Mm-hmm.
artist can only do so much
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know what the hell I'm stepping into. You
Yeah.
know, it's like recent show, didn't know where parking was,
Mm-hmm.
didn't know where certain other things were, and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I need to know these things. I need to
Yeah.
go in advance, you
Yeah.
know, and that's like me going back. I need to know the full tally of tickets.
Yeah.
That way, okay, well, do I need to put out another post on
Mm-hmm.
about make sure, which I'm going to do anyhow, but just
Right.
from perspective on, all right, let me put out some more videos,
Mm-hmm.
to bring up them ticket sales, whatever, you know, to put asses in seats.
Yeah.
But if I already know the ticket sales, then I don't need to really worry about it. I'm like, oh, well, I go in there comfortably. I do what I need to do, you know, but I'm still going to put out the post like, hey, tonight down here at
Mm-hmm.
Debbie's Diner on Driveway Inn or whatever. Just name a name. Why should there be a venue name then? Who knows? Um, but
That sounds like a southern venue name.
yeah, Debbie Drive-In and Diner and with
Mhm.
biscuits and gravy. But if I already know the number, how many people gonna be there, and we've seen this already. People like come out
Mhm.
at 10 to 15 minutes before showtime. And that's like I told you, you know,
Mhm.
uh, January, and like, well, knowing this, how people are,
Situation.
how people are, they're gonna show up,
Mhm.
at the last minute,
Mhm.
close to the time. But I mean that if I just know the numbers of tickets and everything, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. So, but I mean, like you said before, there's a lot that goes into this
Mhm.
that people don't know. Oh, well, he flew the plane in here. He got this. He's all you know uh connected and everything to he's comfortable. We're gonna show him. We're gonna be there, whatever. But you're
Absolutely.
like, man, I'm independent.
Mhm.
I don't have a backing. I used to have a manager,
Mhm.
that. But
Oh yeah.
but I mean, I'm doing all this solo most of the time.
Yeah.
I'm and everybody like, you ain't connected with management or anything, or I said no.
Well, it's one of those things, again, going back to this idea that a lot of people think that in order to be legitimate that you have, now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I wouldn't love to work with a booking agent and a manager and have a
Hmm.
team doing social media and all that. Sure. I would love to be, at that point, but that doesn't mean, that you're not legitimate if you don't have those things.
Right,
And that's the connotation that social media presents. Oh, well, you're not legitimate because you ain't through so and so in Nashville, you ain't through LA or New York.
right,
But what they don't realize is you and me work probably 10 times as hard as people that are on those teams because we're doing the full work of a team by ourselves,
right.
you know? And so, yeah, the overall goal would be get to that stage where we have more access to those types of advanced tools.
And
Absolutely.
people forget those people working at them companies and everything, they work for you and ain't the other way
Absolutely.
around.
Hmm.
A lot of people, oh well, no, they work for you because
Hmm.
you came in, they signed you, whatever,
Hmm.
but you got a team, so you're in
Hmm.
charge of your team.
Absolutely.
You're in charge. All right, well, you need that person looking at the budget and everything, then have another person looking at looking over them, make sure they ain't doing
Absolutely.
no silly willy type stuff.
Hmm.
Going out there buying champagnes and having hotel parties and all that. No, we don't. We
Well, we
don't.
knew we knew an artist that came out of Louisville and played with a lot of people and toured and had a scenario like that. Uh, He's a guy that I think were doing vocal lessons with at one point, and he was signed to a couple different labels. And he had a situation where his manager was buying stuff behind his back
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
that. And that happens a lot. You got to keep eyes on these people. I mean,
Well, yeah.
even when you get to a bigger level, you still gonna have to make sure you have an accounting, and that's where you're going
Well,
back to what you're saying, watching so and
yeah.
so and so and so and so and so.
But you only gonna have a limited amount budget, and then they're gonna
Yeah,
say, because it happened to T-Pain.
yeah.
He said, we ain't got any money. You're gonna have to sell your Bugatti, whatever story was.
Hmm.
You know, you don't have any money.
Hmm.
You know, and I mean,
Well, it's
they
very easy to happen. You got to keep a real close eye on it.
well, it's like when we see that refund check. Oh
Hmm.
man, look what I can do with this. I get a whole album done and
Hmm.
still have some left over, you know.
Hmm.
But yeah, when you get other people in play, you're like, oh Lord, you know, oh
Yeah.
Lord, and you
Well,
know,
that's one reason why I haven't worked with anybody other than you, because the times where I have tried to work with these composers and pianists and different type of individuals, it's a nightmare, man. You
oh
working with
yeah,
these people, they want to try to pull leverage over the artwork, and then you go ahead and give them what they want, and then they're still not happy with the genre, and they want you to take the whole
or
release down and re-genre it and
they
everything.
come back after 2 years and want to change. Well, I don't want you to have me as a primary artist because I'm trying to consolidate my
Hmm.
catalog and everything. You know, I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Hmm.
I'm just trying to give you credit, whatever. You know, but it is what it is. People are silly, man.
Yeah, they really are.
You know, so other than that, you know, you got anything else going on or anything you else want to talk
Uh,
about?
I mean, I'm also an author, so I am working on a new book on and off when I have time, but I haven't
So,
really had a lot of time to invest into that.
because you've been touring.
Right, and doing other things, working on other songs, social media,
Yeah.
all that takes up just so much
Oh,
time.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm doing some other things
Now
too.
about your author, are you going by Cabell Road
No,
or
I'm going by Carter Whiskey.
okay, you're
That,
going
that's
by
the
Carter
that's the
Way?
art. Yeah, I wanted to stick with the C, but I wanted it to be different because I wanted it to stand on its own merit. And so hopefully if I have a success and I'll be lucky enough to have one, they'll be like, "Oh, well, he did it as his own thing." And but yeah, I'm working on this book now, and I did release a little short story, which is kind of a wild ride, I like to call it. It's called Deceitful Lust, and you can find it on my YouTube, and you can also find it. It's on Kindle and all those different things.
Oh,
So
you
I'm
went
working
with
on
that.
that.
You went with that awesome name because you didn't want to get caught by Shelley down there at Backdoor Motel in Seattle. Ah, yeah, that son of a bitch got me again. Oh, yeah. Well, wait until I find he ain't on Facebook. He ain't on it. He's a ghost. That's right, bitch. I'm your daddy now, motherfucker.
But yeah, other than that, I'm also, somewhat trying to look into acting now. But I mean, it's kind
Oh,
of
you.
a whole different, yeah, it's kind of a whole different beast. But I don't know if I'll ever do anything with it. I might put my hat out there and
Well,
see.
you never know. I'm
You
in.
never know when the
I'm on
opportunity is going to
websites.
present itself.
I'm on website. Oh, well, you've been in a new casting search. Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
nobody reached out, but I mean, I'm trying to do a little bit of that. Like I tried to look up something for you the other day, but
Hmm.
I think that script I was actually looking for was in on my computer somewhere on
Hmm.
hard drive, but I found one on Gmail, and I'm like,
Hmm.
nah, that one ain't a real script. It's like some short comedy clip type thing, some really weird whatever. I said, yeah, we ain't gonna mess with that, but yeah, it's tricky learning them scripts.
It is. I mean, it's definitely complex, but I like the element of it kind of has that cool thing that music has where you're trying to discover something new.
Hmm.
And I think the best acting is where they really try to understand the motivations and what really drives this character. And I think that process is fascinating to me to really look at, well, who is this character? How do I portray them? What can I bring out about who they are when I read the lines and that type of thing? And do I agree with it? James Gandolfini from The Sopranos was notorious for
Hmm.
getting into fights with the writers when they were on The Sopranos, and he didn't necessarily like the certain directions that he was going with. So I think that's again that's coming back to being an artist itself. Is to be an artist means that you got to fight for the vision and you got to protect the vision of what I really want to say. You can't let any executive or individual say, "Nah, we don't want to do this," or you're gonna have to stand your ground. Ray Charles let all those kids in at a concert back in Georgia and they banned him.
Yeah.
But he did that because that's what he, oh, okay, it's giving me something about bandwidth. But that's what he felt like was the right thing to do.
Oh, we're
And
going
so
on with
sometimes being
bandwidth.
in, yeah, the bandwidth always wins. We own you.
Oh, on
We
your
own you,
end.
buddy. No, I think it's saying Bodaddy Harris network bandwidth is low. So
Oh
I don't
well,
know if that's
we're probably gonna have to cut it short here.
all right. But other than that, y'all can find me on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Music under Cabell Road. You can find me on platforms at Carter Westgate for the writing. And be sure to check on that because that's going to be hopefully at some point having more of a catalog on the writing side as well. And you can also find me and Bo's album, Deep Truth and Wild Horse, and all our duet material. And of course, please do go listen to Bo's material and subscribe. He's a great artist and great singer, in my opinion. And I don't care what anybody else says, I'm going to support the guy because we came from the bottom. Or maybe that just started from the bottom. Now we here.
Yeah.
Started. I'll quote the Drake, but yeah,
Yeah.
go subscribe and other than that, thank you for your time today, Bo.
Yes, sir. Glad having you on. We're probably going to get the next subscription tier if we want to have larger bandwidth and they want to
You're
get you
gonna have
somehow.
to advance up to corporate's level.
Oh
Well, you're
Lord.
gonna spend the extra $8.95 a month. We got
Yeah.
you. We got you.
It's already 18.95 already. Well, I say one full another $20 amount or something. Sir, you don't want to pay it? Go ahead, get canceled. You won't make it to episode 3. I'll
Well, I
do it.
can't wait to see episode 3. Did you
Yeah.
already work out the guest for that, or is that still in negotiation?
It's in the works.
Oh, good. All right. Well, we'll be watching.
It's in the works. We're gonna have try to have different entertainers on here,
Sure.
and I think we're gonna have one fan episode with a couple people on
Oh,
there.
okay. I
But
can't wait to see that. That'll be cool.
yeah, but other than that, I mean, there's a lot of people who want to get on here,
Hmm.
but we got to do that vetting process and everything.
Yeah, you got to make sure it's
Yeah,
a good fit.
yeah, cause that's what you got to do. And like, all right, what you come with and everything like that.
Yeah.
So you got to do No, it's right for your brand and everything, what you want to do.
Always. And that they don't talk about that enough. You know, Rick Ross was offered something to do tobacco products and he turned it down and he said the reason was he just didn't feel like it was what he wanted his
Right.
brand to represent. So you got to make those choices,
Mm-hmm.
and that's part of being the boss. You
Yeah,
got
you
to
gotta
make
be the
tough
boss.
decisions.
You
So
haven't paid the cost, be the boss.
there you go. All
All
right,
right.
sir. Well,
Glad to
thank you
have
for
you
having
on.
me.
Much adventurous lifestyle, keep going forward. And we'll see you again soon.
Adios.
I'll probably hear from you later on. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining. Welcome to My Place Podcast. I've been your host, Bo Daddy. All right now.